Let's move on to our third main topic today. And our third main topic today gets sent in to us by Trevor Harns, who writes, "Greetings, everyone. Long time, first time. Thank you so much, Trevor. Good to have you here. I was wondering if you saw that Birds of Prey just got its rating, and it's R. Do you think the success of Joker is what gave Warner Brothers the confidence to go R-rated, or do you think that was their plan all along to be edgier?" All right, thanks a lot for the question, man, and sending that in. And yes, for those of you who have not heard, the new Birds of Prey and the Fabulous Emancipation of One Harley Quinn, this is a stupid title, has been given its rating, and it is rated R. Now, I've been getting a lot of messages from people saying, oh my gosh, it must be because Joker did so well. You got to remember how movies are made, everybody. Harley Quinn was being made long before, it was already in production long before Joker came out in theaters. The script was written, they were shooting the film, it was actually finished shooting by the time Joker came out in theaters. They didn't just look at Joker and say, wow, Joker made $1 billion. We should make this one rated R. That's not how it works, and that's not what they did. Now, I'm sure, because, you know, we talked about it on the Weekly Hero podcast yesterday, Rob and I, and we were talking about this. And it's like, I'm sure that there's probably some things, if they really wanted to, they could edit it and maybe get it down to a PG-13 if they really wanted to. But what's interesting is, as you read the MPA, sorry, I keep wanting to say the MPAA, but it's just the MPA now. As you read through the MPA report, it's like for excessive violence, language, and some sexual situations, blah, blah, but not nudity. So they never put nudity in this, which you kind of think in a movie called Birds of Prey, Fabulous Emancipation, going for hard R, whether it's Ewan McGregor showing his ass or whatever, you'd think there'd be some kind of nudity in it, but they didn't do that. So I think they probably left themselves a little bit of wiggle room if they wanted to edit it down, but clearly they wrote this thing and shot it as an R-rated project, and that's how it got there. I'm one of these guys that doesn't believe films need to be rated R. I just don't. But there are some properties that do lend themselves more to being more naturally R-rated. Deadpool is one of them. It is one of them. Stuff like that. And when you look at a movie like Harley Quinn, although they portray her a little bit differently, Harley Quinn is a psychopath who beats people's brains out with baseball bats and comically oversized mallets. And she was dating a genocidal, homicidal maniac. Whatever. So this is something that kind of lends itself to being rated R. So I will admit, I'm a little surprised that they went R-rated, but not really surprised because the success of Joker, but also you look at the trailer for it, and that trailer, particularly the last one, just kind of looked like a trailer to an R-rated movie to me. So I'm not surprised, and this is probably the right direction for them to go, but it's not because Joker did well, because they had already shot the movie anyway. Aaron, are you surprised that they're going for an R rating with something like the Harley Quinn film, and do you think this is the right move for them right now?
I do think it's the right move. Initially, I was a little skeptical because I was like, oh, it's a conspiracy and they just want a movie that's directed by a woman and starring all women to not do well at the box office. Like, I will admit, I kind of went on a little bit of a tangent, and but then I said, okay, relax, let's just do some investigation here. And number one, I like the fact that they're giving it a hard R so that they can step out of the young girl power kind of position and make it more of an adult film. It's being released in February, which across the board is always a better time for R-rated movies. It's when Deadpool was released.
Yes, good point.
And it's also, let's be clear, for them to release it in February, good time for R movies. Also, great time for date movies. So if it's Valentine's and my honey wants to go, hey babe, what do you want to see? Oh yeah, I want to see the Harley Quinn movie. It's going to be sexy. I love Margot Robbie. She's a badass. I want to see some badass women like kicking ass. It's going to be, I think it's going to kill for around the Valentine's Day world. And also I love how DC is separating themselves from Marvel by having more of an R-rated world. They have their PG-13s, but they're also establishing an R-rated world, and we've seen with Deadpool and Joker, it can work. So I hope that this does too.
By the way, I'm one person, we mentioned this, Rob and I talked about this on the podcast last night, but I'm not one who, I don't think at all the tone of the DC movies has ever been the problem. Dark Knight was really dark. Being dark is not the problem.
Right.
But you mentioned the differentiating between how DC is making separating themselves from Marvel a little bit that way. It used to be that DC thought the way to differentiate themselves from Marvel was darker tone. Darker tone is how you... And they did so at a little bit, even though I like all the DC movies, they did so at a little bit of a sacrifice of fun. And they forgot, I think, sometimes that one of the core elements about good comic book movies is they're fun.
Yeah.
People want to go to comic book movies, whether it's Deadpool or whatever, and they want to have a good time.
They want to cheer and laugh.
So what have they done now? They're now moving into an area, it seems like. Now, I'm skeptical about the Harley Quinn movie. I am. But they seem to be moving in a direction of, you know what? Let's differentiate ourselves a little bit differently. Let's go harder edge, grittier, maybe even go R, but let's keep the fun. Let's keep all that aspects of it and be rated R at the same time. And I think this is something, they're just at the beginnings of it right now, but I think this is something that could pay dividends for them as they move forward. Chris, you're looking at this. What are you thinking about a rated R Birds of Prey movie?
I mean, I think an R rating makes sense because of the violence these characters, go through in the comic books. And that title, too, as bad as it is, the emancipation of Harley Quinn, right? That leads me to believe we're going to focus a lot on her leaving this very abusive, troubling relationship, which I think is something we should focus on. Because I've talked about this on the show before. How many times you see people wearing like these "He's my Mr. J" shirts, "She's my Harley"? Why do you want to engage in a relationship like that, guys? That's so troubling to me. Please don't do that. Have healthier role models. Gosh.
I'll tell you what, though. One of the things that I'm bummed out about this movie is this. I understand that Suicide Squad was a hot mess. I understand that. I still unapologetically had fun with it. I did. I thought the good stuff outweighed the bad stuff for me, and I still had a good time. But one of the things I loved about that movie, every time, actually, if you took this out of the movie, I probably don't like Suicide Squad, was this toxic, destructive, poisonous, codependent, awful relationship between Joker and Harley Quinn. But every second they were on screen together, I was glued to the screen. I can't tell you why. Maybe that speaks very badly of my character, but there was something about that terrible, terrible relationship.
It's fascinating. It's like why people watch car wrecks.
Oh, yes.
Or The Real Housewives.
Yeah.
Or The Real Housewives. And I'm glued to it, and I don't like the idea of Joker and Harley breaking up. I want to see them on screen.
Well, I'm
together.
sure that
in
we're
the
going to
comics,
see,
especially once she gets together with Ivy and then she gets some Ivy powers.
Well, yes. Yeah,
I'm
there's
sure we're
that
going to
too.
see, and also one of the things that I was reading is that it kind of delves into her history, as we're doing with a lot of these DC movies, of learning, okay, what causes these people to act the way that they do. And so I'm sure we're going to see many more unhealthy relationships that Harley Quinn goes through. They just won't be with Joker. They'll be with other toxic people.
I remember one of the most controversial in the last bunch of years, controversial moments in comic books was Harley and Poison Ivy. And it's when they first started suggesting that Harley and Poison Ivy had developed a relationship.
Yay!
And they were going, but now you have to understand though about Poison Ivy. You can't touch her. Like
there's a lot of ways of having a relationship, John.
But there's this line in one of the comics where somebody's asking Harley, like, how does that work? And she says something along the lines of, and this got a lot of people like, can you write that in a comic book? But so like, oh, she does this so she and I can play together. It's like, what do you mean play together? And then something interrupts the conversation and stops it. And that guy is like, whoa, isn't that getting a little explicit for this? But whatever, it is what it is. So I don't know, guys. I think this is a pretty good move for them to go R-rated with this. Even though I'm a little bit surprised, I probably shouldn't be surprised at all. What do you guys think about Birds of Prey getting an R rating? Do you think it's a good move? Do you think it's desperation or anything like that? Jump down to the comment section below and let me know your thoughts. All right, guys.